One Bad Apple seems to be a somewhat controversial episode, and one which I was unsure about at first. I've watched it 3 times and come to my conclusions, and I hope that I can help you to reach your own through this video. This episode was written by Cindy Morrow, who seems to have a thing writing about bullying in social situations. She previously wrote Griffin the Brush-Off, which I've made a video for that you can watch by clicking here. It's another episode about bullying, which tackles it from a more teenager/adult level, whereas One Bad Apple faces the issue on a child level. Additionally, Cindy Morrow wrote The Showstoppers, Sister Who's Social, and Family Appreciation Day, so she's been behind a lot of the development of the Cutie Mark Crusaders, and explored their social situations multiple times. She wrote Hurricane Fluttershy and Read It and Weep as well, which were both episodes about overcoming social pressure in one way or another, so this really seems to be something she focuses on. The controversy over this episode comes from how it handles the issue of bullying, which some people strongly dislike. Personally, I found it to be very clean about the whole affair, but when I noticed so much public outcry over it, I decided it had to be addressed. The problem seems to be that Babs Seed gets away scot-free in the end, in spite of all the terrible things that she put the Cutie Mark Crusaders through. A lot of people have said that Babs deserved to be punished for her actions, but I completely disagree. The way I see it, as long as Babs has learned her lesson and changed her ways, there's no reason to punish her any further. It won't make her better as a person, and besides, the Cutie Mark Crusaders already forgave her, so there's really no winner in punishing her any further. Some would argue that the Cutie Mark Crusaders being so quick to forgive Babs is a case of bad writing, but let's think about the CMC as characters. Up until the point where Babs steals their clubhouse, the CMC desperately wants to be her friend. Even during the Babs Seed song they ask, "Can't we be friends?" because they hate that things are turning out this way. When they finally snap and seek revenge on Babs, it doesn't take much to remind them that they aren't vengeful ponies, and they had always wanted to be friends with her in the first place. As much trouble as Babs gives them, they never really reach the point of being depressed. They have strength in one another after all, and are guided more by frustration than anything else. All 3 of them are so mortified by what they tried to do that I think they just wanted to put all the negative stuff behind them, and I think that's excellent. Another problem that people have with this episode is that its ultimate message seems to be, if you're having trouble with a bully, you should tell an adult. This message is a little more complicated and does have its own problems, since it's not always a good solution in real life. That said, I don't think it's a bad message. I don't think you should tell kids not to tell an adult anyways. But more importantly, I don't think this was the real point of the episode. The point was that the best way to resolve a conflict is to understand one another better. Does the episode resolve this understanding too easily? Sure. Is anything ever this easy in real life? Of course not. This is ultimately a kids show trying to teach a message, and for my money it handled that message about as well as it possibly could have in this capacity. Had it been handled realistically, there would have been a lot more ambiguity and a lot less resolution, but this is MLP, not Freaks and Geeks, and I don't expect it to be completely true to life. The only problem I have with this episode's plot is the mediocre conveyance of Babs' insecurity throughout the middle part of the episode. At the beginning, they did a good job of making Babs seem shy and overwhelmed, and at the very end, they did a good job of making her seem like she regretted what had happened. However, throughout the middle section, she was just being a complete ass, and at no point showed any remorse or doubts about what she was doing. The only time her insecurity shines through is when she hides her blank flank while doing the sugar lump rump with Diamond Tiara and Silver Spoon. It's not enough. They did too good of a job making Babs look like a bad apple, and not enough of a job making her look like a bullied, scarred filly. And the sad thing is, all it would have taken is a couple of brief shots of her looking nervous or regretful about what she was doing. Or maybe a few less shots of her looking like she's really enjoying it. There was plenty of time to fit this stuff in because the episode has a loose pace that doesn't really come together well in my opinion. It seems to fill in for the smallness of its narrative concepts by including weak and needless sections, such as Apple Bloom's horrible "is that her?" joke towards the beginning, and superfluous dialogue that repeats the same points about what's happened again and again. The entire Babs Seed song, for instance, is mostly unnecessary, though it's a catchy, fun little experiment in putting a music video in the middle of an episode, and it's better than a quick montage of Babs bullying would have been. I just can't help but feel that the time could have been better used strengthening the core narrative of Babs' insecurity. Anyways, now that I've explored the main narrative, let's look at some of the smaller details that make this episode fun. First things first, God, I love Applejack. Her scene at the beginning is probably my favorite part of the episode, especially the line, "You know your cousin is supposed to sleep in here." Yeah, I just love Applejack. The establishing scenes of this episode use some interesting visual cues to convey the sadness that the CMC feel over Babs' betrayal. The entire time that the CMC are touring Babs around, all 3 of them are constantly clustered together, taking up huge portions of the screen. However, just after Babs betrays them, they are shown spaced apart, with a huge amount of background, which easily conveys the sudden desolation that they all feel. By the way, just as a note, Diamond Tiara and Silver Spoon were god-awful in this episode. I can't decide if this irks me because DT was so much cooler in Ponyville Confidential, or if I'm okay with it because hearing them say "lamekin" makes me lose my shit. I noticed that during the big parade, the background music is the same song which Pinkie Pie used to lead the Parasprites out of town in Swarm of the Century. As you may know, in the Brony community, Parasprites is a term that's used to address haters and bullies. During this scene, the CMC are trying to get a bully to leave town through their antics. I wonder if this is a coincidence. Also, is it just me or did Pinkie Pie seem really stoned in this episode? Hey, Babs is having a lot of fun in that apple. All three of the Cutie Mark Crusaders voice actresses turned in superb performances in this episode. My favorite part is Sweetie Belle reading Scootaloo's indoctrination script, even though they seem to have accidentally reversed a dictionary joke. Babs' last line to Silver Spoon and Diamond Tiara is kinda weak, but I think it's probably the best they could get away with in a kids show. In my fanon interpretation of this scene, Babs actually says, "I'm gonna pop a cap in your sadiddy ass, dirty old bitch!" Anyway, that's all I got. Hey everypone, you just watched the remake of my One Bad Apple video. This one, again, was taken down by YouTube because of copyright whatever, so I just flipped the image and shrank it and put it at the top of the screen and put Digibrony all over it, and now it's an even better version of the same video. So, as I've said in my last video, I intend to eventually go back to all of these episodes and do more videos on them, way down the line. So because I was editing these videos, I thought maybe I should change some things now, depending on what differences there are in the way I feel. So this video did not have very many changes, though. I think I might have pulled a line somewhere about something. Mostly I just had to re-edit lines where it was I had music from the show in this video, which probably has to do with why it got pulled, so I deleted that, dubbed over Applejack and stuff like that. So the only things that have really changed with my opinion of this episode, I don't really have any different ideas about the story or what happens, but I like this episode a lot more than I did when I first was watching it. I initially wrote a first impression post about the episode where I criticized the pacing a lot. That was before I did the video, and then I did the video and I was lighter about the pacing. The reason I didn't change that in the video is that I still think that the pacing is why we didn't get more Babs development. Babs could have used more scenes where we get more into her character, and instead we got a song and we got Apple Bloom making stupid jokes about cows. But that doesn't hurt the fact that I still love this episode, and I don't think the pacing is a problem in itself. I don't think it's hard to watch because of the pacing. It's enjoyable. I like it. It's fun. The dialogue is just so good between the Cutie Mark Crusaders. All their voice acting is phenomenal. It's fun to watch. And I love the song now. I didn't really care for the song at first, but it really grew on me. I think probably Sim Gretna probably did a remix that I listened to too many times or something, and that got me into it. But it's catchy as hell. Just yeah, 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 bum, bum. So that's great. Yeah, so not much to add to this. Sorry if you came for the commentary and were disappointed by the lack thereof, but that's all that's really changed about it, is that I like the episode more than I used to. So meanwhile, while we're here, I might as well put some annotations on the screen. So there's gonna be some stuff about me showing off my room over here on the right. I don't know what I'm gonna put over here. Probably one of my friends probably made a video or something, and I'm putting it up here. The last couple days have not been that eventful for videos, but again, I'm gonna put links to my Q&A on the screen because of the fact that I still get lots of questions that can still be easily answered in my Q&A, so I'm gonna keep annotating that thing until I stop getting questions that can easily be answered in my Q&A, which is gonna be never. So, have a nice day.